my god. That's some strong tea. Alright, let's see how this goes. I don't care. Please go away, Creator Studio notification. I don't care. Hi. Welcome back to my humble little channel. It's Michelle, aka Chat-Mort. I'm lamenting the fact that my tea is way too strong. Oh my god, it's horrible. I did this to myself. Oh boy, it's too strong. It's too strong. I shouldn't have just left the tea bag in it. So, yes, hello, welcome. This is, as per usual, a completely impromptu stream. And I will explain the title presently. Maybe, if I can get this stupid thing to cooperate. Okay, oh boy, that's a lot of dropped frames. That's not good. That's not a good thing. Once you guys get here, please let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. It looks not so good, maybe things are stabilizing. I really hope. That would be good, please stabilize. So, what I wanted to talk to you guys about is something that I started quite a while back. I'm aware that I look ridiculous. I can't find my blow dryer after we moved, so you just get air-dried Michelle hair. I am so sorry. But I began this series a while back. Hi one person watching. I said this just now, but please let me know if you're having any issues hearing me or seeing me. My stream health looks pretty crappy, so I'm hoping everything's okay, but please don't hesitate to tell me if it's not. I can restart it or just scrap it and try again later. But I have kind of cataloged my experiences with antidepressants. Uh-oh, encoding overloaded. What? Turning down video settings, but they're not very good video settings. I'll poop. Alright. We'll see. We'll see if I can manage here. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. Please let me know, you guys, if there are any problems. Anyway, as I attempted to start saying like 12 times here, I have previously cataloged my experience tapering off of Zoloft. I have been on antidepressants. Alright, this is getting really irritating. You know what? I'm gonna stop this, try and fix my video settings, and be right back. I apologize. Give me just a minute. I don't want this to be so poor quality that it's impossible to watch. So I'll be back in just a minute. Let me see what I can do. Alright, let's try again here. Is that working? Okay. It is working, is it not? Hi. Thank you, one viewer, for being patient with me. I did significantly lower my frame rate, so hopefully that'll help. I don't know if it will. This is much slower internet than I'm accustomed to, so I don't know if it will or not, but let's see. So, yeah, I apologize. I'll get right into what I was going to say earlier. If you've watched my channel previously, yes, I do primarily focus on political and social, cultural type issues, but I also talk a lot about my own mental health because I feel like I have been given the obstacles that I have for a reason, and I want to try to help other people feel like they're not alone, or help people see that they can overcome the issues that they're going through if they have similar problems. So I did a series in the past where I documented my experience trying to get down to a lower dosage of the antidepressant I've been on for years now, and that's Zoloft, or sertraline. To give you a little bit of a background, I have been on antidepressants since my junior year of high school, so 2009. So yeah, almost a decade now I've been on antidepressants. The first one I was put on was by my pediatrician, who I still saw at the time, obviously, because I was, what, 16? But Yay, hi G-Money. Please let me know if you can hear me okay, or if there are any issues. Don't hesitate to let me know, because I'm really frustrated. I had to restart the stream a second ago because I was just dropping too many frames, so just let me know. But yeah, the first one I was on was Paxil, which I was prescribed by my pediatrician, you know, my like general practitioner, family doctor guy at the time, because Paxil was the only thing he was allowed to prescribe, since it, you know, it's not his area of expertise to be prescribing SSRIs or antidepressants to people. So Paxil helped me slightly with my depression, but it made me so tired that I was sleeping like 12 hours a day at least. I think I got a D in an art class, an independent study art class, which I only got because I was that good at art and I got such good grades in it because I was so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open. Okay, thank you. I'm glad everything's okay. So I was on Paxil for several years. Then I started seeing a counselor. I've been seeing counselors on and off my whole life for a litany of things, you know, parents' divorce, pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. And the counselor I was seeing when I started college said, let's switch you to something else that might not make you as tired. And that is Zoloft. And the generic name of it, hi Nemo, you didn't miss much, I'm just starting here. The generic name of Zoloft is sertraline. So I have been taking various doses of sertraline to act as an anti-anxiety and antidepressant medicine for, well, 6 years perhaps, maybe 5 years, maybe around 5. Oh no, it's been more than that. Probably around 6 years now I've been taking Zoloft. So I know a lot of people, if any of you are new here, there might be some of you who think that medication is wrong. You might think that medication is some kind of substitute for having strong enough faith in God, or it has something to do with being sort of like a cop-out or a shortcut when you should be able to resolve issues on your own. If so, that's totally fine. This is not for you. I'm talking to people who comprehend the fact that medication does indeed help some people, whether you agree with it or not, or, you know, whether you would agree based on my specific circumstances that I needed it or not. That's the premise I'm operating from when discussing this with you guys, in hopes to be informative and hopefully encouraging to people it's actually relevant to. So anyway, the Zoloft definitely didn't give me as much of a fatigue issue as the previous antidepressant I was on. I think I started on maybe 25 milligrams when I was on it long enough that the effects it was going to have on me had pretty much, you know, set in, and it had gotten in my system thoroughly. Then I went up to 50 at some point, then up to 100. At some point, I was still feeling my life was not only impeded by my depression, chemical depression, but virtually defined by it and stopped by it. So my counselor at one point said, start taking 200 milligrams a day instead of 100 and I'll change your prescription. So I, for several years, was on the maximum dose of sertraline that you can be on. I had a bunch of issues going on. I suspect, and I said this in my previous series of videos where I kind of went through all this stuff. Hi Anon, I'm glad you're here. That I do not know, because I have been on antidepressants, and I started on antidepressants during my parents' divorce, when I was early in high school, when everything was going just hellishly wrong in my life to where I wanted to die all the time. And a lot of the time I thought I must be dead already and I must be in hell, because this is inescapable, unbearable, unrelenting misery. Like, what did I do in life to deserve hell? What did I do to deserve this? I must have been a horrible person to deserve this existence. So, because everything was going wrong when I was in counseling and when I first started taking antidepressants, I don't know how much of my depression is chemical versus circumstantial. Obviously, if your brain fails to produce enough serotonin, or if it does not absorb serotonin effectively, that is chemical depression. Circumstantial depression, obviously, is the kind that comes to most people at various times in their lives, maybe when they're super overwhelmed by stress, if you lose a job or an opportunity to go to a school you really wanted to go to, if someone you thought you were going to have a long-term relationship breaks up with you, if you just kind of end up in a slump. Most people experience depression at some point in their life, circumstantially. But until I get off of my antidepressants, I will have no way of knowing how much of my depression is circumstantial versus chemical, because I've gone through a lot of work. It's taken me, virtually my whole life to get to the point that I'm at now, where not only do I not want to die, and not only do I not have any plans to try to end my life, but I actually feel semi-optimistic about things. I actually look forward to things. I actually kind of enjoy my life to an extent. A lot of that is because of my fiance and my cats. My little family is absolutely remarkable, and having them and getting out of the living hell that is school and college, and getting into the real world and having a job, and being able to sustain myself and see my own, the effects of my efforts on the world around me, and being able to see that I am good enough, I am capable of providing for myself, and building a home, and just I'm able to be my own person. Those things have helped me a lot. So because I have been able to do much of the work necessary to start actually enjoying life and having a better outlook, and because I have learned how to just sort of reconcile, myself to the things that are awful about life, and I've learned how to cope with these things and sort of take them in stride and not overlook the positive things. When I start to get off of my antidepressants, then I'll be able to see how much depression I still have, and therefore how much of my depression is just chemical and doesn't have to do with my circumstances. And that whole rambling thing was to explain that my circumstances are better now than they've ever been in my life. Sorry. I had tea. I was going to drink my tea because this house is freezing, but I left the tea bag in, and it's really strong tea, and it tastes like tar, so I'm going to drink water now. Delicious slurpy ASMR sounds from like a dollar store nasty decaying water bottle. You're welcome, world. So, I have a history of depression in my family, chemical depression. My dad is on a small dose of antidepressants, I believe, most of the time, or at least there's some times of the year, obviously, when he has seasonal affective disorder, which is just basically seasonal depression. The cold, the lack of sunlight, all that stuff makes a lot of people more depressed. And actually, he and my mom both have that. And I love that seasonal affective disorder. I love that the acronym is SAD. Like, you've got SAD. That's okay. I'm sorry. I'm not a child, I promise. But aside from the seasonal depression, my dad and his side of the family do have a history of chemical depression, some of which, unfortunately, people have self-medicated to cope with using stuff like alcohol and drugs and things like that. But because of that, there's a pretty high likelihood that I'll deal with depression in some capacity on and off throughout my life, just due to the chemical aspect of it. It's in my genetics to not absorb serotonin effectively, which is, it's one of the happy chemicals. It's one of the ways that you actually enjoy life and have energy and enthusiasm, and it helps you just be more alert and aware and alive. So we'll have to see about that. I just don't know. I don't know how much of my depression was circumstantial even, and I don't know how much is that as opposed to chemical, and I will find out, Yeah, thank you, Anon. Thank you so much. I'm doing a lot better. And and I've chronicled this in the past. I definitely am grateful for having been on antidepressants for a good swath of my life. I needed that. I desperately needed the boost. I desperately needed the effect that it has on your brain. Antidepressants like Zoloft are called SSRIs, which are, I believe they're called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And what that is basically your synapses, I believe, in your brain is producing serotonin. But the theory as to why SSRIs help people is because between your synapses, there are essentially, like, your brain flushes things out. It flushes out debris. And your brain has a certain amount of time, obviously, after serotonin is produced to absorb it and to, to move it where it needs to go in order for it to have the effect that the chemical is supposed to have. SSRIs block, like, the protein in them literally, like, plugs up those synapses. They plug the things that create the sweeps, I believe, to wash away all of the debris, if you will, in your brain. And due to that, the medication allows the serotonin to sit there longer, and it gives it more opportunity and a longer amount of time for your brain to actually absorb it. So that's what SSRIs do. That's a terrible, terrible explanation for it. But essentially that's what it does. I explain it much better in some of my previous videos, which I will link in the description when I'm done with this. I actually show a chart and actually read the, like, real life definition of what the heck SSRIs are, and the effects of serotonin on your brain and your overall function and quality of life. So yeah, there have been many times in my life where I desperately needed the chemical stability that antidepressants provided. I needed that. Without it, I absolutely would have killed myself. I wasn't suicidal all the time growing up, but starting, late middle school, I definitely wanted to die all the time. I just prayed that I would die in my sleep all the time. And there were times at which I did make plans, but, I wish I could say that it was my faith in God, or it was the love of my family, or, some miraculous thing intervened and made me press on. But it was just that I was a coward. Excuse me. I was terrified of screwing up and becoming a vegetable. I was terrified of being on a ventilator. I was terrified of, maybe having extensive organ damage or something. I was terrified of all of that. I wasn't willing to risk that to finally end it all. And I also didn't want my mom, who I, lived with growing up, I didn't want her to have to clean up the mess. I didn't want her to have to find me. So those were the reasons why I never went through with it. But yeah, there were definitely times in my life when I was suicidal. If you get into the terminology of those things, there's a difference between actual attempts and what they call gestures. Gestures are essentially suicide attempts that are motivated by desperately wanting help. They're a cry for help, as opposed to actual attempts where you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, with everything in you, simply desire to cease to exist. I'm sorry, I know that's really dark, but it's just, it's relevant stuff. And I have no idea which of those things I would have been. It's one of those things where, like, the second people jump off a bridge, they realize they've made a mistake, things like that. There are people who are so scared and changed by their attempts that their whole life, they do a 180 and they realize how wonderful life is. And then there are other people who are saved from their attempts multiple times, and they just keep trying and trying until they get it over with. There are people who genuinely, with everything in them, embrace death and embrace what they perceive to be an escape and a cessation, or an end to existence. I guess that's how I would articulate that. I'm not sure. The cats left. It got quiet. There's not a lot of mayhem and destruction happening now. Huh. Anyway, I definitely was in a very, very dark place consistently from probably 7th grade until, you know, sort of into college. Although, of course, college is, it's an environment where you can redefine yourself. So you feel a little bit better in that scenario. Although college was extremely stressful and terrifying for me, and, you know, was detrimental to my mental health. And when I got out of college, things got a lot better. So there were times when I was suicidal. There were times when I was just deeply, deeply depressed. But I have no doubt that the stability afforded to me by antidepressants helped me stay a lot more stable, and it kept me from bottoming out often enough or getting low enough to where I probably would have, you know, attempted something. However, now that I am out of the deep, deep, deep depression I was in for years, where I was, you know, legitimately in danger, I kind of have the luxury now of examining all of the side effects that Zoloft has on you. As with any medication, you know, a doctor can offer it to you. They can decide that, you know, it would be a good idea for them to prescribe it to you, and they can have you try it for a certain period of time. But with anything, with any chemical, with anything that you do to yourself, there are you know, pros and cons. There are benefits and detriments, and you have to decide if the positive effects, or the effects that address the issue you're having, the symptoms you're having, if those effects outweigh the side effects. And for me at the time, obviously they did. There really isn't much else they can do for you when you're as depressed as I was, when there's as much, you know, just shitty stuff going on as was in my life. But there have been massive, massive issues caused in my life due to the side effects of Zoloft, which is why I want to actually finally wean myself off of it altogether. In my previous video, after having it recommended to me and getting the go-ahead from my doctor, and whenever it comes to anything, any kind of medication you want to wean yourself off of that is non-essential for your, you know, literal survival from day to day, like don't do this with your like insulin or your seizure medication, please. Any of those things, the doctor that you should consult with is the one who prescribed the medication in the first place. So I ran this by the counselor I was seeing at the time, but, you know, she was not comfortable advising me on whether to do it or not, or how to do it. She emphasized the fact that the person you need to consult with about whether or not you should try to taper your dosage lower, or, you know, taper off of a medication altogether, and if you should, how to go about it, you need to talk to the prescribing doctor, you know, whether that is your therapist or your actual, like, you know, physician, or your like endocrinologist, or whoever it was, you know. If cats go quiet, that's when you got to figure out what expensive thing they're destroying precisely. Can a doctor prescribe you the strong stuff without knowing your individual body chemistry? Yeah, I would say so. At least in my experience here in America, and from what I know is commonplace. Oh, thank God, they're back. They're destroying things within earshot, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, I obviously underwent blood testing a lot, and I still do. You know, they checked to make sure my thyroid was okay, because thyroid issues or adrenal gland issues can cause you severe fatigue, and all of that chemical imbalance can cause you to have mood issues as well. But like my counselor, who was a psychiatrist, who prescribed me Zoloft, who told me, let's try and switch you from Paxil to Zoloft to see if it gives you less fatigue issues. It's kind of a weird situation. Like, psychiatrists cannot prescribe medication, but she worked under a psychologist, and based on her recommendations and her notes, he would prescribe medication. So it wasn't my counselor, it was the guy she worked under in the office who prescribed things. But she didn't, I don't remember, I'm pretty sure she didn't have any blood work done, you know, to look at my body chemistry. I'm pretty sure she just went off of whatever medical records were available in the system overall, you know, like from past years. My actual like medical doctors had some information on me in the system from previous like blood tests and things like that throughout the years, and she just went off of those medical records without, you know, having any tests ordered herself, and she prescribed me Zoloft. So see, I don't know. I don't know the specifics exactly, but I do know obviously that SSRIs, the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, that version of antidepressants can have like insanely detrimental effects on your body, you know, and it comes every time I pick up my monthly prescription. There's like pages and pages stapled to the prescription outlining all of the potential side effects. You know, it's the chemical itself is not like particularly dangerous, but the effects that change of your chemical like balance in your body, the effect that medication causes can have dangerous effects. So I don't know exactly. I don't know, like, would you consider antidepressants to be the strong stuff? Because obviously they're not like an opiate or something. They're not introducing some, you know, foreign, unnatural chemical into your body. Like it just changes, it like slows the functions of part of your brain in order to help your brain work better. Like to give your brain, more of a chance to do its job, I guess. Does that make any sense? Frickin', I don't know. Hi, ladies. No murder, please. So, yeah, I think so too. The severity of the situation has an effect on how fast the decision is made. That's true too. Like, you know, if I was just a little bit depressed, or my mom had gone with me to my first doctor who put me on antidepressants and said, she's down in the dumps all the time. She has low energy all the time. That would have been one thing. But he had me do the standardized like risk assessment test where you talk about your energy level, your outlook, how often you're sad versus how often you're happy, how often you have thoughts of dying, how often you wish you were dead. And I scored like as low as you could go. Like I was in as bad of shape as you could be based on this test that, you know, I've been given a multitude of times. So I think it's standardized for America, like by the American, you know, medical board people. So that was definitely part of why he was like, yeah, you need to be on antidepressants. Aw, hi Sauron chick. I'm glad you could be here. So, basically, in my case, and this decision was made jointly by myself, my pediatrician, and my mom, and then by me and my counselor later when she switched which antidepressant I was on, that the benefits absolutely did outweigh the risks for me. Any side effects I had from an antidepressant, you know, kind of paled in comparison to the risk of me attempting to kill myself if I didn't at least have that baseline of chemical stability offered or aided by the antidepressants. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just going all over the place and rambling quite a bit, but I went extremely gradually last summer? Was it only last summer? It must have been, from my 200 milligrams of Zoloft down to 100. And this is something that you have to do extremely gradually because the withdrawal symptoms from antidepressants, specifically SSRIs, are nothing to be trifled with. That is also complicated by the fact that I was on the highest dosage allowed, which is 200 milligrams a day. And it's also complicated by the fact that the longer you are on an antidepressant or anything that changes or supplements your body chemistry, the more your body has come to rely on it. So the harder your withdrawal will be. And I did try to catalog that on a daily basis. I did succeed at getting from 200 milligrams down to 100, and I did that over the course of like 2 months. I wanted to do it as gradually as possible because, you know, obviously I have a family, I have a job, you know, I have to be able to pay the bills, I have to be able to go into town to get groceries and get the mail and run a myriad of errands. I can't afford to just like be off work for a week to go through this hardcore, nightmarish, like psychological horror movie withdrawal experience. So I did it extremely gradually, and that I succeeded. Even doing it incredibly gradually, like far, far more gradually than my doctor recommended, you know, being even more careful than my doctor was when she gave me a regimen to use to taper off of my dosage. I still had withdrawal symptoms. I still had more vertigo. I still was really tired. I had a fever on and off. I was extremely tired even compared to normal. So, I mean, that's one of those things that I can't emphasize enough, that it's extremely important to bear these things in mind. You know, even when you're first considering going on an antidepressant, the withdrawal is something that you kind of have to plan your life around as you go through it, you know, as you choose to taper off of your medication. So you're no longer a Zoloft addict. Well, give me a minute. I'm getting there. It's more of a problem for men, but SSRI overuse can lead to the disruption of the 5-HTP transmitter and full cessation of serotonin production. Oh, this happened to most of the school shooters. That's really interesting, actually. That's very relevant. Wow. And I mean, I guess that makes sense, you know, because that would be consistent with the idea that the longer you're on an antidepressant, the more your body just kind of like relaxes into it and adapts and, you know, starts behaving as if that chemical aid is always going to be there, you know. So the more difficult it is for you to pick back up where you left off when you get off of the medicine. So it's interesting that that's more of a problem for men, though. I wonder what it is about like male brain chemistry that makes them even more likely to have that issue. But then during the winter of last year and, you know, early this year, I resumed tapering off of my dosage, and I tried to plan it around times when there was a lot less stressful stuff happening. So I waited until after Christmas to start lowering my dosage again. And that I will also link. I did a daily, like, sort of journal cataloging my experiences with it, my energy level, my overall withdrawal symptoms I may have experienced during that time. I went down at that time from 100 to 50 milligrams. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out. I had gotten almost completely down to 50 milligrams, and I go into the details in these videos, but I would go like 100 milligrams a day, 50 the next day, 100 the next, 50 the next, for like a week or two, and then I would just go down to 50. So I did it extremely gradually to give my body the easiest time possible adjusting to this change of chemicals. But I got about to the end, and then around December through the end of January, early February of this year, I was I got to a really, really, really bad place mentally, to where for the first time in a while I was planning trying to end my life. Again, it's hard to talk about, and it's weird, and I'm trying not to be embarrassed. As you guys know, those of you who have been on my channel for a while, my opinion is that my dignity and my privacy, in this scenario, those are not as important as the chance that me sharing my experience might help somebody else, which is why I'm so candid. I'm very aware that what I'm saying is not, it's a very, very abnormal and inappropriate amount to divulge, I guess. but I was in a place where I was in danger, and that was definitely not helped by the fact that I was lowering my dose of my medication and trying to get down to 50 milligrams a day. But the main reason, as far as I can tell, for kind of tanking as far as my depression and my overall mood and quality of life was it was a combination of things. I was scared of causing trouble, so all of the people who love me more than anything, you know, my parents, my fiance, all of the people closest to me, instead of confiding in them and letting them help me, I tried to, oh, no, it's okay. Don't feel bad, Ryan. Don't apologize. It's totally fine. I withheld that information. I wasn't being honest with them about how bad I was feeling because I didn't want to scare them. I didn't want to upset them. And a lot of the time when a parent finds out that their child is depressed or suicidal, the parent feels like they've failed. And so the parent takes it personally. And, you know, if kids are afraid of that happening, then, you know, instead of looking at your parent as somebody you should be able to turn to, you get into this, you know, weird headspace where you, in an attempt to like protect your parents from being scared and sad, you know, you are making your life infinitely worse because you're bottling everything up and not confiding in everyone. So I was doing that. I was bottling everything up, not confiding in anyone. So I felt alone all the time because nobody knew what I was going through. I was also not doing all the things that I have been taught, you know, over and over again throughout the years in like women's groups for people dealing with trauma, various counselors, doctors I went to because I couldn't breathe, which turned out to be a stress issue, all kinds of things. There are things that are, you know, very common threads that you can be taught, whether you have like depression, anxiety, just a variety of different issues. One of those things is mindfulness, and it sounds kind of like a left field, like Zen meditation type thing. But mindfulness is basically learning to be present in the moment, and that helps people. It helps you be aware of yourself and the world around you. Like, it helps you like ground yourself, like to solid physical things. And mindfulness teaches you to get out of your head and out of that like downward unending spiral of thoughts. And it just helps you come to the present and be more at peace, as opposed to being trapped in like your own fears and stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you right away. I'm fine. I'm just kind of explaining everything leading up to where I am now. It's all stuff that happened in the past. But I you know, I knew about mindfulness. I'd been taught that many, many times by counselors and stuff like that. And one of the things that you can do to like aid mindfulness is like deep breathing exercises, which are basically meditation. And those can be like guided meditation, all kinds of things like that. When I was little, I actually went to a doctor who called it self-hypnosis, where you do a very specific series of sort of deep breathing exercises where you, as you breathe in, you tense up your muscles, and then as you breathe out, you release them. And you do that like from your toes to your head or your head to your toes. And it can take like 15 minutes, but it's just this like deep breathing meditation ritual you can do. And it calms you down. It helps you breathe deeply, and it relaxes your whole body. You know, it helps you basically release all of that tension you build up just throughout, you know, the daily grind of being stressed out about all different things. So, you know, that deep breathing stuff was another example of stuff that I've been taught over and over my whole life, and I just got lazy and I wasn't doing it, you know. And because I was being lazy and neglecting all of these tools that I know help me, I was not, like, I wasn't actively aware of, and I wasn't paying attention to my own mental state, so I didn't realize how bad things were getting. Like, the point of mindfulness is to be able to monitor yourself and to be able to figure out, I feel really crappy today, or I have felt really crappy this past week, you know, and No, you fool. That's not true, Anon. Well, maybe. I hope so. But, you know, it allows you to keep an eye on yourself, essentially, and babysit yourself. So, you know, if you realize that you're having really terrible anxiety, you know, if you realize you're really tense or your chest feels tight and you can't breathe, or you've been crying a lot, or you're just exhausted, when you're aware enough to identify that, then you can figure out what's been going on in my life that's so stressful. Or you can, you know, decide maybe I need to just like take a soothing bath every once in a while, or just like relax tonight or this weekend with a good book and a glass of wine. Like, you're aware of what's going wrong, and you can start figuring out how to fix it, and you can start trying to like up your amount of like self-care or pampering or meditation or whatever to help like even that out and get you through bad spells. Pardon me, I'm dying. Talking this much is not good for me. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Everything's fine, I swear. So, yeah, the reason why I was so badly depressed, like back from December or January through like February, was a whole bunch of things. I wasn't confiding in the people who loved me, so I felt completely isolated. And, you know, then finally when I had to tell them how bad I was, they were horrified, because all this time the people who were closest to me who would have been happy to help, I was being stupid and thinking that by hiding how I felt from them, I was protecting them from having to worry about me, which was so stupid, you know, because them finally finding out that I'm like suicidal because my fiance says, you need to tell your parents how bad this is. This is really important. They need to know. Obviously, them finding out like that is far more stressful than me confiding in them when I have a bad day or a bad week along the way before it builds up to that point. So, I actually in February, early February, I went to my doctor, and I was so frustrated because I had gotten to the point where I was down almost to 50 milligrams of Zoloft, which was 25% of the amount I had been on for years. I was so proud of myself for having come that far and accomplished that much. And then this setback, mostly caused by me just like being lazy with my own like mental health check-ins and stuff, and those preventative things you can do, resulted in me going back to my doctor and her saying, we need to up your medication for now to keep you safe, you know, because medication in these instances, it kind of buoys you up and it gives you that little bit of stability, at least chemically, while mentally you're working through all your issues and trying to get out of that dark spot or that dark place. So I went from being almost down to 50 milligrams of Zoloft a day to my doctor putting me back up to 100 milligrams a day. And she also prescribed me a different medication called Wellbutrin. And I guess it's very normal now for doctors to give you two medications that work together. Wellbutrin is supposed to help your Zoloft work better, and I'm not sure how exactly. I need to research that, and then I can show you guys what it does. But she put me back up to 100 milligrams of Zoloft a day and 150 milligrams of Wellbutrin a day. So it was like, even though I'd come so far and was so close to like getting off of antidepressants and not having to rely on them to feel good and not having to pay for them all the time, and you know, even though I got so close to like getting rid of all of the side effects of Zoloft that like plague me so much and have such a massive effect on my quality of life, then I had to go all the way back up. You know, it felt like all of that was for naught. So the reason why I want to come off of this medication is because the side effects are severe. I feel completely numb almost all the time, and I actually instead of having it pulled up on the screen, I'm too lazy, so I'm just going to read some of the side effects of Zoloft to you on my phone. But, you know, that way I'll be able to go through them and tell you guys what things that I'm constantly struggling with, I'm pretty sure have to do with Zoloft. Because, you know, I'm 25, you know, I'm pretty much an adult now. I'm pretty much stabilized as far as like who I am and like where I am in the world. But I have been on antidepressants for almost a decade, you know, since I was a teenager. So I really don't know how much of like what's going on with me is from medication as opposed to, oh, maybe I just don't sleep well. You know, maybe I'm an airhead and I can't think thoughts through clearly. So I need to figure that out. Let me see. So rxlist.com says that some of the common side effects of Zoloft include sleepiness, drowsiness, and tired feeling. Which, is it raining? What am I hearing? You know what? I think it is raining. Anyway, yeah. I'm tired all the time. All the time. I am exhausted. I can't keep my eyes open. My thoughts are incredibly sluggish. I don't even remember what it feels like to have a normal amount of energy. And, you know, I think I would be a lot sharper. Like, I would be able to think faster. I would be able to articulate my thoughts better. I think I would be capable of much more high pressure, like, career type things if I wasn't like tired and stumbling around like I can't wake up all the time. Let's see. Other common side effects of Zoloft are nervousness, which I definitely have, sleep problems or insomnia. Now, this is something that I've had problems with for years. Is that a serial killer with a chainsaw behind you? That's not exceedingly helpful, Sauron chick. No, it's not. Is it? No. There's a kitty. You can, is that her? Is that her right there? I can't tell. That is her. If it moves, you'll know it's my cat. No. Yeah? I don't know what you're seeing. I don't know. There's a whole mess of stuff back there. So, like, because I've been on antidepressants for so long, I don't know if my sleep problems are caused by Zoloft or not. That's one of the big issues, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get off this medication, so I can figure out if it's possible for me to live my life without all of these problems that interfere so much. Oh, my bad. Yeah, okay. Thanks, buddy. Very helpful. But yeah, I don't sleep well at all. A lot of the time, even if I'm physically exhausted from a day of like a lot of physical effort put into things, I will just lay there and my mind won't shut off. I just can't sleep. And I toss and turn all night and I have horrible nightmares. The more stressed out I am, the more nightmares I have. But you can also have nightmares from this medication, which is not helpful either. Dizziness. Yes, I'm dizzy pretty much all the time. Nausea sometimes. Skin rash, no. Headache, I have a headache pretty much all the time, yes. Diarrhea, constipation, no. Upset stomach, stomach pain, I don't know. See, like, maybe I'm in stomach pain all the time, but I'm so used to it that I don't notice it. You know, maybe I'll realize once I get off of this medication, like, oh my god, my stomach feels better. Like, I didn't even realize that the way it felt wasn't normal. Dry mouth, I do have problems with that. Hello. Changes in appetite? Probably. Abnormal ejaculation? Abnormal ejaculation, that does not apply to me, actually. Impotence, decreased sex drive are some of the common side effects. This is something, yes, this is very, very personal, but yeah, I have like no sex drive at all. And this is something that I know is from my antidepressants, because I was a very normal teenager before I was on antidepressants, you know. Teenagers, for lack of more delicate terminology, tend to be horny all the time. I was very much that way, you know, to where you're in such a state of, you know, like sexual arousal all the time that you can't think straight. You can't concentrate on anything. You know, it's very distracting and upsetting and embarrassing. I thought you were being mauled by a cougar. No, I was not. It was just my little sassy pants. But as soon as I started taking antidepressants, that normal, like, sex drive, I guess you could call it, that you have as a teenager stopped. I have virtually, I'm sorry, I know this is very personal, but I have virtually no sex drive at all. And a part of me feels like, well, you know, I'm young, I'm missing out because I don't have this drive. Part of me feels like, you know, hello again. That's just Mira. Don't worry about her. They love this new setup here. They love being able to get on my chair and then on the old tube TV and then up in the window. It's pretty great. Yes, that's my tea. Please don't knock it over. Like, I feel like, you know, your like sexual, your drive, I guess, peaks when you're about 30, when you're a woman. I think when you're 33. So a huge swath. Can you please stop destroying everything? Thank you. Also, cover your ears. You're too young to hear this. This is amazing. This is a good stream. I can't wait for like future employers and, you know, people to be finding this. But like, I feel like I'm missing out on you know, I've missed out on a huge chunk of my life where, you know, you really enjoy physical intimacy. You know, a huge swath of this time, I have almost no drive for that. You know, also being in a committed relationship with my fiance, the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, it's one of those things, like, even if I don't feel like I'm missing out because I don't want that all the time or as often as normal people do, I'm always so scared because everybody's talking about sex all the time. You know, people are completely sex obsessed. So to not like want to have sex a normal amount, I feel like there's something wrong with me. I feel bad for my fiance. I feel like I'm like cheating him out of something, or he's missing out on something that he should be able to have because I'm not interested in that more often. I get scared because I feel bad about that. And he's the coolest guy. He's not the kind of person who's like constantly going to pressure you for something like that or guilt you into something like that. You know, he's just the coolest, most caring, respectful guy in the world. He's amazing, and you all are very unlucky that he's not your fiance. But, you know, even then I still feel bad. I feel like I'm not doing one of the major things that I should be doing as like a wife. You know, that's just the way I feel. So that causes me a lot of anxiety. How do you even react to having a sex drive back after not experiencing something that intense for so long? I don't know. Maybe I won't be on the internet much for a while. I might be busy. I don't know. All right. That's okay, Ryan. Goodbye. You know, yes, that's a very, very personal thing to talk about, but that's something I know I'm experiencing. And, you know, life is short. I have found the person I want to be with for the rest of my life, you know, as far as the relationship and, you know, physically, the person who I've chosen to be with for the rest of my life. And I feel like a huge chunk of the amount of your life where you actually really enjoy that, and a huge chunk of your life where you're a very, very sexual being, I've just been robbed of that because my antidepressants have killed my, you know, my drive. Low, yeah, it kind of sucks, but too much sex drive is way worse. That is definitely a distinct possibility. No more Zoloft, try cocaine. All of the ups, none of the downs. See, Nuvi, I'm not entirely sure I believe that. So, Yeah, then it goes on RX list to talk about some of the very, very scary side effects you can have from Zoloft. Very stiff muscles, high fever, sweating, confusion, faster uneven heartbeats, feeling like you might pass out. I definitely have some things like that. Sweating. I am the freaking sweatiest, revolting monster in the world. It's disgusting. And I didn't used to be this way before antidepressants. So this is one of those things that I know is from my medication. Sorry, excuse me. It's gross and embarrassing, but I'm so sweaty. Like, I am dripping with sweat. I'm like in a puddle of sweat every night when I sleep. It's revolting. I have to wash the sheets like twice a week. It's disgusting. You know, if I get a shower before bed, I pretty much need one again in the morning. You know, I can't go more than one day without washing my hair, which is terrible for your hair because I'm so sweaty that my hair is all greasy. That's just one of those things that, no, it's not horrible. There are people who go through much worse, but especially as a teenager, that was a huge source of shame and anxiety for me. I was terrified to go to sleepovers, you know, because if you're sleeping at somebody's house in like your pajamas and like your bra and socks and, you know, you're sleeping on somebody's couch, what are you going to do? You're going to like reek of sweat and have like giant puddles of sweat soaking through your clothing and on their furniture. It's, you know, the idea is absolutely horrifying. It's scary and embarrassing. You know, when my fiance and I got together, I felt horrible that he had to deal with that. You know, it's disgusting. Like, after I get up in the morning, you have to turn the fan on in the room and like flip down the covers to let the puddle dry. It's disgusting, and I feel bad that he has to deal with that. It's just one of those things that I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a dehumanizing symptom, but it's inconvenient, and it's just really embarrassing, and it makes me feel disgusting. I just feel disgusting. And I constantly need it to be freezing cold, you know, when I sleep, to try and minimize me being a disgusting, drippy, sweaty monster. Confusion. I feel like I deal with confusion a lot. I'm extremely disoriented a lot of the time, as I've articulated in many of my previous videos about depression, about my medication, and about other things. I'm very, very out of it, disoriented, confused, pretty much most of the time. To the point where it's interfered with jobs in the past. It's definitely screwed with my ability to be as good of a student as I'd like to be. I have a terrible, terrible memory. I'll tell people things like 10 times, you know, before I realize I've told this person this thing before. Or, you know, my fiance or a friend will say, they'll bring something up and I'll be like, what are you talking about? And they will have told me something very important in a conversation where I was looking at them, you know, responding to them, totally alert and awake, and I just don't remember things. And it's far beyond a normal amount of just, you know, being scatterbrained. So that's another one of these symptoms that it's one of the reasons why I want to get off of this medication and not, you know, not be like dependent on it my whole life, because I'm not functioning. You know, my whole little life basically revolves around not having a job that's too confusing or too stressful or complicated because I'd screw it up, you know, not going on these trips or not doing anything hobby-wise or project-wise that's too complicated because I can't follow along with things. Nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, feeling unsteady, loss of coordination. Yes, I'm very, very uncoordinated. Like, I will crash into a doorway I've gone through for years and years. Like, I just lose fights with doorways, tables, all the time. Beyond what's, you know, just like normal kind of clumsiness. Nausea. I'm definitely queasy a lot of the time. I wouldn't go so far as to say nauseous. Yeah, see, here we go. Trouble concentrating, memory problems, weakness, fainting, seizure, shallow breathing, or breathing that stops. Oh my God. Actually, I'd never seen that last one before. Trouble concentrating, memory problems, yes. Absolutely, I have both of those to the point where it interferes. It seriously, majorly interferes with my life to the point where I'm terrified. You know, I stay out of conversations. I don't stream a lot with other people. I don't debate other people on here because I can't concentrate and my memory is trash, you know? So like my whole life is me avoiding situations where this would, you know, impede my ability to function. Now, fainting, seizure, no, I don't have either of those. Shallow breathing or breathing that stops. This is crazy to me because I'd never read this before. Shallow breathing, my breathing is incredibly shallow. And breathing that stops, I have never heard of this before, and I have this problem all the time. Like, I thought I was just stupid. I was like, there's no way this is really happening. And when I explain it to people, people look at me like, yeah, you are just stupid. But I have this thing all the time where I will just realize I'm starting to feel really bad, like worse than usual. Like I feel kind of queasy and sick and my chest feels tight and my head starts hurting. And I'm like, oh, I feel great now. I will just stop breathing. I'll stop breathing for like 30 seconds. Not just like during the night, like during the day, just while I'm doing various things, while I'm, you know, typing up a document at work or reading something or doing chores around the house or whatever. I will just realize that I've not breathed in a long time. Like, that's pretty bad when one of the most basic involuntary functions in you just doesn't work a lot of the time. And I know that's not helping either with my energy level, with confusion and being disoriented. Obviously, if I'm not breathing enough to have enough oxygen getting to my brain, that's not going to be a happy time for me, you know? So that's amazing to actually see that that is a side effect of Zoloft. I just thought I was freaking dumb and my body was broken. Wow. That's crazy. Anyway, so I wanted to go over some of the side effects you can have from Zoloft because I have many side effects from taking Zoloft that you know, have drastically reduced my quality of life. And that's one of the main reasons why I need to do this. You know, now that I don't need Zoloft for my own safety, I'm willing to lose the benefits of it in order to actually start feeling alert and alive. You know, wanting to get a poke from time to time or more often than I do now. You know, being able to concentrate on like complex issues and thoughts and being able to remember things 30 minutes after they were said to me without having to write everything down word for word. I want to be able to do that. I want to actually feel alive. You know, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to want. I'm so sorry about my farty chair. This chair, it's like a top of the line office chair, and it is not anymore. That's all I can say about that. As far as I'm aware, such sweat problem is kind of unsolvable. Some sweat problems are caused by hormone issues and can sometimes be treated, but it's all dependent upon the specific case. Yeah. I actually get that myself. I forget to breathe, but I don't take Zoloft, so I might just be stupid. Don't say that, newbie. That's horrible. Anyway, so I can't recommend to focus on thoughts. Oh, well, that's something I do a lot. If you see how much I talk about Angela White on Twitter, I do that probably more often than is healthy. I'm sorry, that's not nice. Sorry, Angela. Not getting enough oxygen is fun. I had some hypoxia while climbing a mountain and it's awful. That's scary. Yeah, I have never... Well, I'm trying to think. Was I ever like mountain climbing in Virginia? Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think it was a mountain. I don't think I would have survived a mountain, but I've climbed up where the air is thinner, obviously. But I've never really had that because of that. So those are some of the main things. And then one of the other things, which is the main like side effect or just effect of Zoloft, that is why I wanted to get off of it, and the reason that actually convinced my counselor that I needed to talk to my doctor and try to get off of it or get on a much lower dose, is the fact that I basically feel emotionally numb all the time. One of the things that people will say to comfort you throughout your life when you're going through a really difficult time, when you're having a lot of depression, when you're just miserable, you know, when you're just unbearably hopeless and miserable, is that you will be able to appreciate the beauty in life that much more than somebody who has not known true sadness or sorrow. You know, like the further, like the lower your lows have been, the worse you've had it, the worse your experiences have been, the more grateful you will be for the beauty in life. You know, you won't take it for granted the way other people will who've never really gone through much hardship. And that makes perfect sense, right? And that's a perfectly reasonable, you know, like motivational thing for somebody to tell you, to try and comfort you when you're going through a hard time. But from my early to mid-teens, and then, you know, later on in my mid-teens and in my early 20s here, I have not felt that way. That has not, like, rung true for me at all. I feel, you know, the full, like, range of negative emotions, like to the lowest low, where it's just excruciatingly painful, unbearable, inescapable. I'm itchy. Misery, you know, and just total hopelessness, and just begging God, please just let me die in my sleep. Just let me die, you know, fairly painlessly somehow, please. Like, I have felt the lowest of the lows, but I do not feel much joy. I don't find things to be that exciting or interesting or funny, or I don't feel like, I can't think of words because it's 1 a.m. and I'm sleepy. Like, I don't feel in equal balance of positive emotions. I just feel either negative emotions, or I essentially feel numb. And I know that that is caused by my Zoloft. And that goes back to what I mentioned when it comes to having almost a non-existent sex drive too. When things just don't make me joyful, when I'm just not happy, when I either feel horrible or I just sort of feel okay, you know, like low, kind of not so good, sort of okay. Never kind of good or great or wonderful. I never feel above just okay. I've been on antidepressants for almost a decade now, and that's a huge chunk of my life. I could die walking up the stairs tonight. You know, there could be a slasher behind me with a chainsaw right now. I could die in my mid-30s in some freak accident. You don't know. So to have had such a big swath of my life where I basically feel dead inside, where I just don't feel anything, and I'm missing out on actually truly rejoicing about and reveling in the wonderful moments in my life that should have been happy. Like, I'm starting to get scared. Like, I don't want to live my whole life not feeling anything. And I'm not running out of time, but in some respects I almost feel like I am. You know, I don't want to spend one more month or year of my life just feeling completely numb, feeling just dead. You know, I don't want to feel that way, because there are all these incredible, wonderful things in my life. You know, my fiance, my cats, this, you know, incredible storytelling that you see with like Breaking Bad and TV shows and novels and movies that are coming out. There's so many incredible scientific discoveries to be researching and, you know, finding out about. So many experiences just to be had out in the world. And despite the fact that I'm encountering these things, they're not doing anything for me. I'm missing out on actually enjoying and having a positive effect from all these incredible things, despite the fact that I know that's how they should make me feel. So that's the main reason why I need to get off of this medication. Once and for all. It sounds like all goths are on Zoloft. Essentially, yeah. That's not a mountain. Well, that would make sense, because if I tried to climb a mountain, I would almost definitely die newbie. Okay, that was okay. That was fine. That's a normal gastrointestinal function that just happened, I promise. So, today was my 6-month checkup doctor's appointment. From the February appointment that I went to because I was dangerously suicidal. So they made me come in immediately to assess me and figure out, you know, if they could refer me to a counselor and get me on different medication. So, for a while after that early February appointment, they had me come in every other week to make absolutely sure I was safe, or at least stabilizing as far as my mood and my suicidal feelings, you know. But today I talked to her about everything. I was very honest with her. I had more blood work done, which was horrible. I hate it. Oh my God, my veins are awful. I had an allergic reaction to the tape, and I've got all the goo from the tape. I've got a horrible rash from the tape, from where they put a cotton ball over my place where they drew my blood. I almost fainted. I was horribly shaky all day. I was freaking starving because I have really low blood pressure already. And then they took a freaking ton of my blood out to check my thyroid and my vitamin D and junk. I'm so mad. And then I think I'm having inflammation from getting my blood work done today, because the bones in my arm feel like they're scraping against each other, and I'm having these serious pains up my arm. What the hell is going on? It's stupid. I'm definitely getting out of the more serious stuff. I'm sorry. I know I'm angry and I'm complaining. But you don't feel obligated to stay if this is too heavy for you, but I'm getting out of that stuff. What do you mean that's how your grandpa died? You'll have to be more specific. If you don't mind explaining that a little bit more. Eat better, drink filtered water. I'm trying to eat better. I'm actually starting to take daily vitamins, and I do drink filtered water. Last stand, and welcome, by the way. Have you ever used a Brita water filter, Last Stand? Because where my fiance and I used to live, we lived in town, and our city water was revolting. It just tasted like chlorine, and it reeked of sulfur. It was like sludgy water. It was disgusting. So I said, we are getting a Brita water filter. I can't have disgusting water like this. I can't. And I've never gone back. I only drink water that has been through that filter. And actually where we live now, there's a clear water. It's a regional brand, I believe, here in America. We have a filtration system on our water in our house, and then I put it in the Brita filter. So it's twice filtered. My house isn't very high, and it's only a few hundred feet below the highest natural point in Virginia. Really? Just don't kill us when all the inhibitors wear off and you realize your true power and attempt to usurp the NWO and rule the world with a cruel iron fist. I won't kill you. You guys are my buddies. My subscribers will be spared. That's how your grandpa died. A needle to the arm to get his blood done. He fell back, his eyes rolled back in his head. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's horrible. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm like a fainting goat. I faint when I get shots. I faint when I have my blood drawn. I faint when I stand up for too long. So like, I was careful today. I warned her, and she was like, you want to lay down? And I laid down, and she drew my blood. Anyway, as I was saying, like, at this appointment, I explained to my doctor that I do want to get off of my medication. You know, I went into great detail, and we talked about how the circumstantial stuff that had caused me a lot of depression early this year is very different now. I've worked through a lot of it. I've also started implementing those skills that I was taught that I was being really lazy about early this year that caused me problems. I'm practicing mindfulness. I'm just trying to exercise more. I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to meditate and do those deep breathing exercises. I'm just trying to be a lot more conscientious of how I'm feeling. I'm trying to check in with myself regularly, and I'm trying to remember to keep an eye on myself. And if I feel lousy, I'm learning to manage that better and, you know, just be more aware of it to know when it's happening and when I need to start working a little bit better to feel better. He just fell off the bed. That's awful. Well, I'm so sorry about that. That's an awful thing to have to deal with. I'm really sorry to hear that. So what my doctor told me to do, an hour and 16 minutes into the stream, I'm getting to the good stuff, the important stuff, is that what I'm doing currently, as I mentioned a little bit ago, is I'm on 100 milligrams of Zoloft a day, and to help with that, I'm on 150 milligrams of Wellbutrin a day. So, she looked it up in their database they have, and since I'm on 2 medications, I have to get off of the Zoloft first, and then we will work on weaning me off of the Wellbutrin. So this whole time that I'm getting down to 0 milligrams of Zoloft a day very gradually, I'm still going to be taking the 150 milligrams of Wellbutrin every day until after that, and then we'll worry about that one. So with the Zoloft, she said that I should go down to 50 milligrams a day for a month, and then she will write me a prescription for 25 milligrams of Zoloft a day. And then from there, I will go down to 0 and be in touch with her if my withdrawal symptoms are too great or anything like that. Sorry, give me just a moment here. So she asked, like, do you need a prescription? Because I'll get you a 1-month prescription of 50 milligrams of Zoloft and then 1 month of 25. And I told her, like, yesterday I went into town and I had just gotten my prescription. So I have a 30-day supply of 100 milligram tablets of Zoloft. So she said, okay, so just cut those in half and take 50 a day, and then switch down to the 25. Like, she just wrote me a prescription for the 25 milligrams. So once I'm done with the 50s, excuse me, I will go down to the 25 milligrams of Zoloft for a month. And then after that, once I've stabilized from that and I'm completely off of Zoloft, like completely for the first time since early high school, then we will worry about weaning me off of the Wellbutrin. So, like, this is happening, and I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm mostly excited. And I recognize that because this is not going to be as gradual as last year, when I went from 200 milligrams to 100 milligrams a day, my withdrawal symptoms are going to be more severe, but the process is going to be completed sooner because I'm doing it faster, and I'm doing it as per my doctor's recommendations. And that's one of those things that it's irritating, but I want to give this disclaimer again. If you're going to go off of a medication that you have been prescribed, please talk to the doctor who prescribed it if possible, or talk to your doctor. Make sure that they know you want to do it. Make sure that they are okay with it, and follow their recommendations for how to do it, because Zoloft is one of those things that the side effects are, or not the side effects, the withdrawal symptoms are nothing to screw around with. It's very, very serious. You feel like you're going crazy. It's all these crazy symptoms. Fever, you can't sleep, you feel like you're getting electric shocks in your brain from the actual like changes of the chemistry in your brain. At times you can, I've never felt the brain zaps myself, but that's a very common side effect from withdrawing from your medication. So yeah, I'm kind of in shock that this is actually happening. I'm so excited, you know. I'm finally going to not, you know, be dependent on this medication, and I'm finally going to like be free of it, and a lot of the symptoms, you know, a lot of the side effects I have from taking this medication, I won't have to deal with anymore, and I know that my quality of life is going to improve dramatically, and I'm so excited for it. Gotta get ready for work. Good luck with everything. Thank you, Anon. I hope you have a good day at your sophisticated job across the pond there. Pardon me again. Nuvi said, the cops illegally took my brother's blood during a traffic stop, and they fucked it up so badly that he ended up with a huge, nasty looking dark red coloring covering his right arm. That's horrifying. Not just that they illegally took his blood, but that's awful. Subdermal, right. You must focus on nutrition. Wake up, white people. We have to change our culture to quality, not quantity. That seems kind of out of the blue, but that's interesting. I'm going to make a video soon on this weird argument I had with somebody recently on Instagram, of all places. Because this is just kind of a tangent, and I won't go into this in too much detail, but a lot of conservatives, like traditional older conservatives, tend to have this mindset where like you need to be having kids. You know, it's horrible that all these people are like in their late 20s and early 30s and they're not just like popping kids out like crazy. You know, when I was your age, I had 5 kids by the time I was 20, and yeah, we lived in poverty, and yeah, they were deeply affected by that and stressed out and malnourished, but you know, your job is to pump out more conservatives like a piece of factory equipment or a 3D, you know, baby conservative printer. That's one of those things where I'm like, no, I think that you should wait. You should be responsible. I'm not having children. I'm not going to pop out like 12 babies in rapid succession just because some stranger on the internet tells me to. We are going to have children when we are financially stable, when I am emotionally stable and not on, you know, freaking antidepressants. I'm not going to put children through a bunch of trauma just to like brainwash a bunch of children into being conservatives. Like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to, you know, when I am able to give children the absolute happiest, most fulfilling life possible, when I feel like I'm ready, we will talk about having children. Like, I don't understand how it's anti-conservative to try to get your life in order and try to be financially stable before you have kids. And it's so weird, you know, like that's this thing, as far as you saying quality, not quantity, that's how I feel. Like, it doesn't make any sense, you know, like, why is it a conservative principle to just have a ton of kids mindlessly as opposed to actually being conscientious about it and trying to be in a good place financially and, you know, emotionally, and as far as your relationships in your life and as far as your career before actually trying to provide for a child? It's just mind-boggling to me, you know, like how is making more kids better than making kids who are happy and well-adjusted and who you can actually nurture and care for and, you know, teach to become well-rounded individuals? Like, popping out a bunch of kids when you're like 16 is how you make leftist welfare babies. Like, why do conservatives think that we're going to like breed ourselves out of existence, that we need to have a ton of kids regardless of the quality of their lives? Anyway, that it's just something, I don't know if that's probably a tangent that doesn't have to do with what you were saying specifically. What's your name again? Last Stand. But that's one of those things that's mind-boggling to me, you know? Like, you have to look at the quality of life. You know, you should want to give your children and, you know, children of the future, you should want people to have the highest quality of life possible. You should want people to have, you know, all the resources necessary for themselves to have happy, fulfilling lives. I just don't, it's a peculiar talking point that comes from conservatives, and it's like, if you think that conservatives are going to be bred out of existence because we're waiting till we're like financially stable and in stable, committed relationships to have children, like, you're effectively admitting that you don't think conservatism is compelling. You don't think it's factually sound, you know, because a lot of people who are conservatives have kids who become leftists, and a lot of leftists have kids who become conservatives. Like, people don't just become conservatives by being born to conservative parents and being brainwashed. That's completely absurd. You know, if you think that conservatives have to have children to keep conservatives from being like bred out of existence, you're admitting that you don't think that the principles and the arguments for conservatism are based enough in you know, historical and statistical fact to be compelling to people. Like, you're not a real conservative if you think that the only way for conservatives to be created is by like literally procreating and making them. That's crazy. Anyway, I apologize for that tangent, but you saying, you know, quality over quantity matters, Last Stand, reminded me of that. And that's something that I actually had an argument with some like weird, you know, older conservative man on Instagram. I argued about that with him recently, and I'm like, conservatives are not espousing conservative principles. You know, there's nothing conservative about this. This weird talking point that you have to just make a freaking bunch of babies, you know, without actually trying to improve your life and to try to make sure they have the happiest life possible. It's very strange. Pardon me. And thank you, Sauron Chick. The next 6 minutes said, went through some nasty side effects of the medication I took in the late 80s to early 90s for ADD, quit it cold turkey. Took a long time to detox from it. Yeah, that's scary. I'm sure you guys have all heard of Miss Misa if you watch like political commentary. And Miss Misa, she just like quit her antidepressants cold turkey, and that horrifies me. You know, I felt so bad for her because when you do that, even if you're on a very low dose of an antidepressant, the withdrawal symptoms will basically leave you bedridden for like a week at least. You know, you have to, when you wean yourself off of a medication, you have to do it as gradually as you possibly can, you know, for your mental and physical health. And so you're able to function, and go to work and take care of yourself and your family and, you know, run errands and take care of your home. Like, you have to minimize the, like, lack of function that is going to come from the withdrawal from those medications. You have to do everything within your power to keep yourself healthy and sane through that. And I felt so bad for her because it's basically like you're horribly sick with a whole bunch of different things. If you like quit a medication like that cold turkey, the withdrawal you go through is horrible. You know, I felt so bad for her. The Juice said, lol, and this is why whites are minority. Cheers. God bless you, Juice. I hope you learn English. Miss Misa is a pal. I can get you on a stream with her. I don't know. I really like Misa, but I'm really scared to stream with people right now. I know you were the one, though, who kept telling me, go on with the Lords of the Night. Go on with them. Do it. And then I was like, no. And then I finally did, and you're like, I was telling you for so long to do this, finally. But until I get into a better place, like after I get off of this medication, I think I'll be like, I'll be more ready and I'll be in a better place to be able to like stream with somebody who I look up to, who kind of intimidates me, like Miss Misa. I know Irate Bear and Sinatra. Yeah, I've talked to Bear some. He was on my channel. He and Magog came on and picked on me, and tried to talk me into streaming with people more. And Sinatra, I've talked to Sinatra a little bit. So I'm trying to think. That was the main thing. So I think tonight I guess it's going to be the first night where I drop from taking 100 milligrams of Zoloft to 50. I'm going to take 50 milligrams tonight, and this is going to be like day one of me working to get from 100 milligrams of this medication a day down to 0. So I know this is going to be crazy and harrowing and exhausting, and the withdrawal symptoms are probably going to really screw with me. But I'm so excited, you know, I'm so happy that I'm like actually I'm going to like reclaim my life from just this like weird foggy exhaustion where I'm just lost and just disoriented all the time. I'm so happy, you know, I'm like actually going to be a real life person and I'm not going to feel just like dead inside. So yeah, it's great. I had withdrawals from non-prescribed Xanax once, never again. That's crazy. Yeah, the ability various chemicals can like have on your body, it's crazy the effect they can have. Scribe, Satsu, and Monkey are good dudes. I always have fun streaming with them. Yeah, I'd like to stream with them again. I need to start harassing Scribe and see if he'll have me on again. I love Scribe so much. Oh my god, I was always like, I think Scribe and I would be good buddies. And now we do kind of talk, and he's so cool. Satsu, I love all three of them. I've always loved Monkey, and Satsu, I started watching his stuff the most recently out of any of them, and I love his content. I love like most of the gaming stuff he does, and obviously he has great taste in anime too, so it's just so refreshing to find people who are kind of like on the same wavelength as you, you know. It's just so cool. I love them and I love watching them. So I guess I hit the high points. Alright, see you later, Ryan. Have a good night, or like whatever time it is there, night or day, or wherever you're at in the big wide world. I'm looking for kitties. It got quiet, so I'm a little bit suspicious. Probably kitty mischief happening somewhere. Hi, Victoria Lewis. I'm 7 days completely off Zoloft after tapering and feeling so clear in my head, so happy. My effects weren't bad at all. For me, I made the right choice, and you can do this. Oh my god. That is so sweet. Thank you so much, Victoria. I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. I'm so happy. You know, it seems like you had a lot of the same experiences that I did. Bye, Ryan. It's 1 a.m. there. Okay. Yeah, you're in the same time zone as me then. Yeah, Victoria, that's what I want. I want to like feel like my head is clear. Like I've tried to explain it in previous videos of mine where I talk about depression and Zoloft and all that stuff, and I just, like, I don't feel like I'm real. And I think that's why I like playing horror games and stuff. I like being terrified, because it's the only way I can feel alive. Like, I don't feel like I'm really here. Like, I feel like, even though I can physically reach out and touch different things, like on my desk, like, I feel like I'm just floating. Like, I feel like I'm just this little, like, not even solid, tangible thing, just, like, lost and, like, floating and being tossed in this, like, soupy fog. I just feel lost and disoriented all the time. So, that's so wonderful that you're just done with all that. That's amazing. And your effects weren't bad at all. That's so great. Thank you so much. And I hope things get even better for you now that you're free of having to take that medicine. Did you admit to being an NPC? You hush now. I'm not an NPC. I am a very well developed character who's not an NPC at all. I promise. So I think, aside from rambling and repeating myself quite a bit, I hit the high points. You clean your system from Zoloft completely and stop liking anime. That'll never happen. I stop liking anime and then my depression clears up like that day. That would be hilarious. But yeah, this ridiculously long stream is going to be the first video in this new little series I do where I document my experience going from 100 milligrams of Zoloft to 0. So, I'm going to put these videos, like the next couple, where I talk about all this, I'm going to be putting them in a playlist, and I'll probably compile like a couple days into a single video and upload them. But I will try to talk about any withdrawal symptoms I'm having, my overall just mood, my energy level, things like that, anything new I notice as I get this medication out of my system. So, I mean, I've done this in the past, and I think it's an awesome opportunity for me to be able to use this experience to help other people, you know, 'cause it is scary. It's a huge deal trying to get off a medicine like this that's so helpful and, you know, has made such a big difference in people's lives, and to finally be free of it. You know, and to kind of feel some of the negative things that medication helped you avoid, but also feeling all the wonderful things that it stopped you from feeling. That's a huge experience. That's a huge life-changing deal for people. So, you know, if I can help people know what is in store for them, or just help them understand kind of what people go through who have depression and deal with it, you know, in part by taking medications like this, that's wonderful, and I hope I'll be able to do that for people. Low-level companion character? Probably. Yeah. I'm the kind that just, like, talks paragraphs and paragraphs of text with, like, typos in it, and you're like, how did this game pass, like quality assurance? What happened there? Well, you did just kind of send us on a quest to be careful about tapering off meds. NPC confirmed. Yes, but it's one of those stupid achievements you don't get till you finish the game, because you're like, oh yeah, what was that? I didn't even have to do anything. Seeing single 12 hours long video. As much as I feel like I've talked for 12 whole hours, I'm probably not going to do that tonight, though. I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm going to go to bed here very soon. T-shirt, drug-free and horny to make white babies. That, well, that would make a statement, that's for sure. But yeah, I will put this in my new playlist explaining and cataloging this little misadventure trying to get off this medication. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to say for now. So yeah, I'm gonna go take my 50 milligrams of Zoloft and then go Betty bye, probably. So I will add all of the links in later to explain some of this stuff, probably in the morning when I get up, because I'm exhausted now. But if you guys want to see the website that I used to give you a list of the potential like side effects of this medication, I will list that. I will link some, you know, just like simple articles explaining how antidepressants work, such as SSRIs specifically and stuff like that. So if you feel so compelled, check back later, and I will have that all in the description below. I'm wearing these slippers that like have little sticky things on the bottom, and they're making bizarre like screechy noises under the table. I have no idea if you can hear that or not. It sounds like gerbils killing each other or something. It's very strange. Anyway, I hate pandering, but if you do feel so compelled, you can like this video, comment if you're watching it later, subscribe, If you do like any of my videos, please feel free to share them. I am trying to grow this channel, and I am trying to, you know, make a positive impact on my small audience here and hopefully grow the number of people that I can encourage or at least share thought-provoking opinion with from time to time. So I believe that's all. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me. I hope you guys are all having a good day or night wherever you're at in this big wide world. I am not an NPC. That's the takeaway from this video. And yeah, I will update you guys on my medication journey later, and I will be back with more political, cultural commentary at sometime soon. And I guess that's all. So I will see you again soon. Goodbye.